You like the Mari Stoudemire with dreads, bobbleheads, chatterboxes flapping, but I...
As of late, Earl Sweatshirt has been making some really risky artistic decisions. This is evident in his previous album, some rap songs. On the rapping side, Earl used a really drowsy and offbeat cadence. On the production side, Earl incorporated much more dreamy and sort of abstract instrumentals and really muddy mixing of the vocals to create this really vintage and abstract feel. And while this experimentation was met with a lot of critical acclaim across the board, many fans were not vibing with it. Yes, the album received an 8 on Pitchfork, Best New Music sticker, Fantano gave it an 8, whatever, right? But a lot of internet communities saw this new direction as sort of pretentious even. So Earl sort of became the new figurehead of, oh, I listen to this rapper, so I must be more intelligent and my music taste must be much better than yours. And which is really unfortunate because Earl's experimentation really showed some growth and I personally really loved it. And his experimentation is not showing any signs of slowing down. In January of this year, Earl announced that he would be leaving Columbia Records. He said that he did this in order to really further his artistic boundaries and experiment more. Now, this brings us to the 7-track EP titled Feet of Clay. Whereas some rap songs served as a sort of taster to get listeners catched up on where Earl has been, what he's been doing, and how he's been feeling since the release of IDLS IDGO, Feet of Clay serves as sort of a focused main course to really hone in on a few aspects of Earl's life and paint a more vivid picture. Conceptually, the EP lives up to its name. Feet of Clay is a phrase used to describe how even the most respected and revered figures in society will have their weaknesses and flaws. On this album, Earl is very open about his personal shortcomings. One of the more prominent themes on this EP is the theme of loss, whether it is literal loss, where Earl talks about the death of his father and his breakup between a girlfriend, or a figurative loss, as in Earl is losing his sense of self, and Earl is losing his confidence in other people who are switching up on him. All in all, Feet of Clay is a really compelling listening experience. While many will not like it, I personally love it for its raw storytelling ability and just Earl's unique artistry. Earl gives a really strong start to the EP with the opening track titled 74. Now on this song, Earl really showcases his flow ability. And so one of the hallmarks of Earl's new aesthetic is that he uses this sort of drowsy and offbeat cadence. And it's really unique how he sort of strings the syllables together in his lines. It sounds really nice and sonically pleasing. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but
You like the Mari Stoudemire with dreads, bobbleheads, chatterboxes flapping, but I got a lot of fed, comment head, cold level, minor setbacks, minor threats.
it just goes absolutely crazy, absolutely bonkers in my opinion. Conceptually, I think this track sort of serves as a mental conversation Earl is having with himself. Earl in this track is talking about sort of how he's changed and he's sort of reflecting on it. And so he's talking about how his appearance has changed, how his artistry has changed. I really love the line that talks about the chatterboxes, but still keeping the kids fed. I interpret that sort of to mean that, you know, despite Earl switching up his artistry, you might not like it, people might be talking about it and criticizing it, but at the end of the day, the people who really vibe with it and relate to it, they're gonna enjoy it, and that's all that matters to Earl, that he's putting out music that's genuine to him. And as a whole, the themes explored on this track, such as change and loss, really set the tone for the next few tracks to elaborate upon these themes. On to the second track, titled East. Now, this is the song that has received a lot of meme attention, but for good reason. So, the instrumental on this song features this sort of loop of an Arabian wind instrument, I think. It's been compared to sort of the trash beats meme, sort of, you know, those really bad memes that feature a really bootleg SpongeBob melody in the background with the flute, like, But personally, I love the beat. I think it suits Earl's new aesthetic perfectly. When accounting for the beat and how Earl raps, his content on this song, it sort of plays almost like a drunken man in a bar ranting to you about how terribly his life is going. And for this purpose, the beat really does an excellent job at setting the mood. And I don't care. The melody on this, it goes crazy. It's not a bootleg SpongeBob melody. It's fire.
Double back when you got it made. 30 racks of weed, no fat in the collard greens. Off top is me, no cap, I don't bottle days.
Come on, dude. Am I the only one? I guess I am, but that's tough. That's really tough. In terms of content, this song really explores loss at a very thorough level. And so Earl talks about losing his father, losing his girlfriend after losing his phone. And so I think losing his girlfriend after losing his phone is sort of a nod to the sort of like social media age we live in, where online relations are sort of distorted, and that we need to take a break and really evaluate things without the influence of, I guess, online communication. I really appreciate the line specifically where Earl talks about losing his innocence in the East. That obviously alludes to Earl's time spent in New York with the Slums Collective. And to me, him saying that means that he's lost his innocence in terms of he went and met these people. He sort of had some eye-opening experiences and reevaluated his artistry, how he approached music, and how he approached life in general. And so I really like that line. I also love the line about cognitive dissonance. I think it's really clever. So cognitive dissonance meaning that his mind state is not matching his actions. And so Earl sort of wanting to be this positive light, yet currently being in this dark place and rapping about dark stuff. I think it's a really nuanced line. It's definitely super fire, super pang quotable line. Earl comes through with these quotables all the time, bro. That's one hallmark of Earl's music, bro. Super fuego. Anyways, so yeah, as a whole, I think to really enjoy this track, you have to analyze it under the context of Earl's aesthetic and really what Earl wants to convey through his music. The beat, the lyrics, the song structure, how he raps, everything. I think I could not imagine this song any other way, and it's really one of the more nuanced songs on this EP, and personally it's one of my favorites. It's received a lot of hate, but it is what it is. Music is music. So the third song on this EP is a track titled M Tomb. Now personally, this is actually one of my least favorites on the EP, if not my least favorite, just because I think it's not really compelling in comparison to the others. It's still a pretty good song, but the instrumental, in my opinion, is really lacking. When listening to this track after the tracks preceding it, it doesn't really do the job, in my opinion. It's not really that experimental. It doesn't incorporate any like daring loops or samples or anything. It's just a really skeletal beat and really bare bones. So yeah, the beat really doesn't do it for me. In terms of content, Earl talks about loss one more time. He talks about specifically his loss of a sense of self and how he's changed. And so he's turned from becoming this sort of socialite and extrovert from the Odd Future days, and slowly becoming sort of an introvert and reserved, quiet, and sort of the underdog in the rap game. Like I said, it's still a good song, but it's not as compelling and sort of as jaw-breaking, or as jaw-dropping rather, than the other songs on this EP. The next track on this EP is titled OD. Now, OD is a reference to two things, one being the late Mac Miller, and two being use of alcohol and drinking as a coping mechanism to depression. And so obviously these are very dark topics, but the song itself actually it comes off as almost soulful and warm and comforting, if that makes sense. So the beat in the back uses these really it uses these brass instruments that sort of play this almost like comforting, homey melody. Um, and the song itself, in terms of content, is really introspective, and it's sort of a song of reflection. So Earl talks about missing the woods, which is a reference to his therapy program, and he talks about missing the past and memories in the past. And it comes off as very nostalgic and reflection heavy, taking time to be thankful for what's happened in the past. And yeah, it's a really nice song in my opinion. So yeah, definitely one of the highlights on this EP. The next track on this EP is titled El Toro Combo Meal, featuring the North Carolina rapper Mavi. And so Mavi kicks off the song with a really clean verse. He comes through with this really relentless, fast-paced flow. So yeah, I really love Mavi's verse. It's really revealing, adds to the sort of themes that Earl is portraying on this EP. And Earl himself, he comes through with this really interesting verse. It's mixed in a way to sort of be muffled, and yeah, that's interesting. I really appreciate the spirited away line that Earl brings up. So I interpret that line sort of to mean that he really wants to like separate himself from past woes and past worries, and he wants to sort of like transcend and rise above, and I think that's pretty cool. Next track is a song titled Tisk Tisk slash Cookies. I really love this song. So it incorporates sort of two parts that are really distinct from each other. So the first part, the tisk tisk part, is where Earl has this verse talking about, where Earl has this repetitive verse talking about people switching up on him, becoming snitches. You know, snitches get stitches, you know the deal.
It's an evil world we live in, but hey, I'm gonna keep living and loving life.
So yeah, the way Earl raps, the instrumental to this part of the song, it really conveys a sense of disappointment and how times have changed and how people have switched up on him. The second part to the song is Cookies, and so it incorporates a much more traditional song structure with a chorus, a verse, and another chorus to end it all off. I really love the chorus on this song. His line about cooking inside even though it's sunny, I interpret that sort of that Earl is working on his artistry even though it might be appealing to go outside. Earl really wants to prioritize himself, developing himself into who he wants to be before presenting himself to the world. And so I really think that's a clean chorus. So yeah, this song also builds on the theme of nostalgia that was present in the last few tracks. So Earl talks about how people have changed, they've lost their silliness, so their characters have switched up, and just, it's a cold world out here. It's a cold world we live in. And so, yeah, times have changed. Earl's gonna have to adapt to this sort of new sense of maturity, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough out here. So Earl closes off this EP with the track 4N, featuring Mac Hami. I really like Mac Hami's verse. It's not really focused to delve into one topic, one specific topic, but for what it is, it has a lot of really cool one-liners, and to me it sort of embodies the notion that rappers like Mac Hami and Earl, they're underrated, but they're embracing sort of their status and really creating genuine music that's unique yet true to them. Earl's verse serves as sort of an optimistic cliffhanger, I'd say. One line I especially appreciate on this on Earl's verse is the line, "Bend we don't break, swing we don't miss." So "bend we don't break" is obviously a repetition of a line from the Bends off of some rap songs, and so the original line was "bend we don't break, we not the bank," and so this line sort of means that we're not going to fold easily to obstacles or criticism that's hurled our way. And this new rendition on this on 4N, this song, "Bend we don't break, swing we don't miss," to me it really emphasizes perseverance and strength in the face of obstacles. So Earl is persevering and he is hitting. there are people who do vibe with this music, and that's all that Earl really wants, to create music that's true to him and that really that people can relate to and derive meaning from. There are a few other lines that come off as sort of triumphant and confident, and so those lines really drive home the point that Earl is cementing this new aesthetic, whether you like it or not. Who's with us, you know? Who's gonna really stick up with us for this new sound and really gonna vibe with it? If you don't vibe with it, it's cool, but at the end of the day, Earl is satisfied with this new music, and whoever comes along, and who doesn't, doesn't. I also appreciate how he ends the verse off, saying that he was writing the message in a foggy mirror, as if to say that even this medium, with how adventurous and experimental it is not enough for Earl to convey his full message, and that in the future, Earl will start delving into even more experimentation, exploring more ways to really get his messages across and get his experiences across. And yeah, it's just a really sick verse and a really nice way to end the EP off. I remember right after the release of some rap songs, I follow this Instagram account, and just a lot of these people on the Instagram hip hop community were like, "Oh, Earl's the GOAT. This is just the greatest album of all time. He's really the GOAT." And after the release of this, I'm seeing a lot of people start to criticize him and sort of like think of him as corny. This EP just not being it, especially East. But East is fire. I love Earl's music so much because personally for me, the way he raps, the content he raps about, how he raps about it, sort of the package it's wrapped in with the really dreamy and abstract instrumentals, it really creates a music that's strong for introspection and reflection, and it really ties the listener to the human condition, if that makes sense. So Earl is showing you his slice of life in a really revealing and vulnerable way, and it's up to you to derive whatever meaning you can from this, from his experiences. And Feet of Clay really embodies this new direction. If you didn't like some rap songs, you're not going to like Feet of Clay at all. And in fact, Feet of Clay takes a few more adventurous steps that SRS did not. For instance, the really wonky instrumental on East, and a few of like the details that Earl chose to include in the songwriting on a few of these songs. They're really personal and vulnerable. But me personally, I really appreciate this direction. Even though it's definitely not perfect, I think that this direction is a really good look for Earl. As a whole, I give the EP a 9 out of 10. My favorite songs are 74, East, OD, Tisk Tisk Cookies, El Toro Combo Meal, and yeah. So yeah, this has been Penn High School Music Journalism's review of Feet of Clay by Earl Sweatshirt. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Feel free to start a discussion, share your opinions. Follow us on Instagram if you would like, where we post weekly content 5 days a week. Be sure to check out our website. It'll be on screen somewhere, where we post articles. So yeah, subscribe to this channel for more video content from Penn High School Music Journalism. I'm Kemal. Peace.